Hi everyone! In my last video, I talked about intuitive eating and its benefits from scientific research. In this video, I'm going to talk about 10 principles of intuitive eating. These were taken from the book Intuitive Eating by two registered dietitians, Elise Resch and Evelyn Tripley. I've put the link of their book below for your reference. So the first principle is to reject the diet mentality. The authors mentioned that diet mentality is responsible for the weight gain. And why diet doesn't work could be explained by the dieter's dilemma created by two psychologists, that one has a desire to be thin, which leads to dieting. Dieting increases cravings and urges for food. The person on diet gives into the cravings, overeats, and eventually regains any lost weight. If this cycle goes on and on, the person on diet will feel more out of control with eating and would lose trust in themselves and feel like a failure without self-discipline every time a new diet stopped working. And actually, they are not failure. It is the system of dieting itself created the setup for failure. And the second principle is to honor your hunger, which means to keep your body biologically fed with adequate energy. This sets the stage for rebuilding trust with our bodies and food. Being overly hungry can trigger overeating. The third principle is to make peace with food and to give ourselves unconditional permission to eat, whatever and whenever. It is based on the theory that if we tell ourselves that we cannot or should not have a particular food, it can lead to intense feelings of deprivation that build into uncontrollable cravings. And when we finally give in to our forbidden foods, it could result in overeating and overwhelming guilt. But people may concern that if I allow myself to eat whatever, I won't stop eating. And the authors thought that at first we may experience an overpowering fear that we won't stop eating a favorite forbidden food. But when this food is always allowed, the urgency of having large quantities at one setting will eventually disappear, and we tend to finally eat them in moderation. The first principle is to challenge the food police. The food police is the inner voice of food rulers we develop that may judge our eating actions, such as don't eat too late, not eat that fattening food, it's not time to eat yet, or you ate too much even though you're still hungry. The authors suggested that when a food police or negative self-talk appear, psychologically, we shall tell ourselves that there is no good or bad food, no right or wrong eating time, because after all, we know ourselves the best. We know when we need to eat, what we need to eat, and how much we need to eat. And I guess I would like to clarify here that this point perhaps means more on the psychological levels, that we do not always restrict ourselves, judge ourselves, or talk negatively to ourselves. And it is different from having nutrition knowledge and making nutritional choices, which is good. I guess here, what the authors try to say is that when we have biological needs or desire of eating, we don't tell ourselves that you are bad because of eating that, and we could let ourselves to eat, and perhaps just in moderation if our body agrees with it. The fifth principle is to feel your fullness. The goal is to look for what does comfortable satiety feel like, or listen for body signals that tell us that we're no longer hungry. We could observe the signs that show that we are comfortably full, and one tip is to pause in the middle of a meal or snack and ask ourselves how the food tastes and what our current fullness levels are. It requires a lot of conscious eating and mindful eating to feel the sensation. If you feel that you are comfortably full and yet feel that something is still missing, it could be the satisfaction factor. The sixth principle is to discover the satisfaction factor. Sometimes when we aim to be thin and healthy, we often overlook the pleasure and satisfaction that can be found in the eating experience. When we eat what we really want in an environment that is inviting, the pleasure we derive will be a powerful force to help us feel satisfied and content. By providing this experience for ourselves, we will find that it takes much less food to decide we've had enough. Some of my friends lost their appetite under stress, and I'm the opposite. I tend to eat something to release my stress, and I believe that I'm not alone. However, emotionally, eating is likely to be the source of the extra calorie that our body doesn't need. So the seventh principle is to cope with our emotions without using food. Anxiety, loneliness, boredom, and anger are emotions that we all experience throughout life. Food won't fix any of these feelings. It will only make us feel worse in the long run, because we will ultimately have to deal with the source of the emotion as well as the discomfort of overeating. Although I'm still learning, I'm grateful of having this awareness, which I believe is a very important first step. The eighth principle is to respect our body so we can feel better about who we are. It is hard to reject the diet mentality if one is unrealistic and overly critical of his or her body shape. Just like a person with a shoe size of 8 would not squeeze into a pair of shoes with size 6, we might also need to be aware of our genetic blueprint and have sort of a realistic goal for ourselves. The ninth principle is to exercise to feel the difference. We all know that exercise is good for our health. However, if we focus too much on the calorie burning effect of the exercise, sometimes we might feel too stressful to do it. Instead, the authors suggested us to shift our focus to how it feels to move our body on our stress levels, energy levels, general sense of well-being, sense of empowerment, and sleep quality, so that it could become more enjoyable and sustainable to do exercise. And it doesn't have to be intense or in a form that we don't like. We could simply move around and do anything we find fun and enjoyable, like gardening, working, playing, and so on. The last principle is to honor our health with gentle nutrition. When we make food choices, we would like to honor our taste buds, our health, and make us feel good. We don't have to eat a perfect diet to be healthy. We will not suddenly get a nutrient deficiency or gain weight from one snack, one meal, or one day of eating. It is what we eat consistently over time that matters. It's progress, not perfection, that counts. The authors reminded us that the journey to intuitive eating is like taking a hiking trip. While a road map may be helpful, we may take a detour from time to time or go back and forth between our old dietary behaviors and new dietary behaviors. And it's not a mistake, it's a process, a discovery. And it is important to be kind to ourselves and appreciate the learning that comes out of the experience. Before I end the video, I would like to clarify that I'm not saying everyone should do intuitive eating. Rather, I look at it as a piece of knowledge or a tool just to be aware of. And to be healthy or reach our weight management goals, I believe it's very individualized and there are many ways to do it. And as long as we are comfortable with what we are doing, that's fantastic. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that the information is helpful in some way. Have a great week ahead and God bless you.